Let's get more on those trade tariffs. Justin Wolvers is a Professor of Public Policy and Economics at the University of Michigan, and he joins us now. Professor Wolvers, thank you for your time. Now, as we see, these tariffs have come into effect. Share markets are down. Can you tell us about the impact they're having already?
Yeah, so the Trump was in favour of tariffs is no surprise to anyone. And so already we saw people starting to make adjustments in December and January, and we'll see even sharper through February when the February data come to light. With you've seen a lot of Americans try to bring forward purchases that would have otherwise occurred after the tariffs, and so that was a short-term boost to spending. But what we're really seeing today is the sense of reality that this is a chaos White House. This is a chaotic economic policy, and it's a set of policies that, despite the president's rhetoric, are no good for American businesses. And that's why you saw the US stock market sell off sharply yesterday and sharply again today. This is the market's way of saying to the White House, you might think this is in our best interest, but by jingo, we hate it.
Now, as to those tariffs, Canada's being targeted in its retaliation, certain products affecting really certain parts of the US more than others. Can you tell us about their approach?
Yeah, so I'm actually coming to you from Michigan, which is just right on the border near Canada. I could drive across the border right now. This is also where we make a lot of our cars in the United States. And so no single factory makes a car. What you have is lots of little factories making different parts. And a lot of the parts of US-made cars are actually just across the border in Canada. So that's going to cause enormous disruption in the United States, enormous disruption in Canada. And actually just I think it's one of the sectors that's really going to be hurt the most is going to be US-made autos, because a lot of those autos are made out of stuff imported from Canada.
Mexico is holding fire till the weekend, as we're hearing. What's likely there?
What you've seen from China, from Canada, and what you'll also see from Mexico is an attempt to hit back in a way that's calculated less to damage the US economy and more to damage Donald Trump's standing. They're going to focus on the politically sensitive sectors, agriculture. In all countries, farmers know how to whine, and they've got a pretty good direct line to the White House. You're going to see red states being targeted, and basically an attempt to create as much pain for the American producers while creating somewhat more limited inconvenience for Canadians and Mexicans and Chinese folks.
Well, on that, could Tesla be specifically targeted?
Well, one answer is why not? So the Canadian former finance minister, Chrystia Freeland, has suggested specific tariffs on Tesla. Look, it's not that crazy in the sense that already the United States has 100% tariffs on Chinese-made cars. In Australia, you might be used to driving around in little BYDs, which are charming little cars that are also remarkably cheap. And the understanding over here is that the American car makers just can't make them that cheap. If you want to exact political pain, maybe you do go after the regime and its close mates. One thinks, of course, that Trump's tariffs are more about Trump than they are about Musk. So I'm not quite sure how far it would get them.
And as you say, China retaliating as well. What impact will all these tariffs have on inflation?
On inflation in the United States, we're going to see the cost of a whole lot of stuff that we buy go up dramatically. These three countries account for roughly 2/5 of all of our imports. Mexico in particular accounts for a huge amount of the fruit and vegetables that my family eats. You see energy coming across the border from Canada. And there's a lot of rhetoric from the White House that this won't make a difference, but the reality is the CEO of Target was announcing today that there'll be price hikes. I've had friends who've seen their energy bills go up on the very day that the tariffs were announced. And so you're going to see, because these are very, very large tariffs on a very large swathe of imports, this is very different than the first Trump administration. You're going to see real effects on the cost of living almost straight away.
Now, you're in Michigan, but you are an Aussie, of course. So what do you think the impact will be here in Australia?
I think a lot more mixed. It's not unambiguously a bad thing for Australia. Look, the reason for that is this is not a global trade war. This is an American trade war. And at the moment, the Americans aren't going after us for reasons I don't understand. They're actually going after their even closer mates, being Canada and Mexico. And that actually raises opportunities for us. Presumably there's stuff that the Americans would otherwise want to buy from Canada that now they're going to go to the global market. There's stuff that Canada would otherwise want to buy from the United States that now they're going to go to the global market. And so you can see that there's a real role for Australia here. So as long as we don't become one of the big targets of tariffs, this actually may be something of an opportunity for Australia. I don't want to overstate that, but it's not, I think there's a reasonable chance this ends up being actually slightly positive for Australia.
Justin Wolvers, Professor of Public Policy and Economics at the University of Michigan. Always great to chat. Thank you.
A pleasure, Gemma.